Hi everyone, I hope the audio and video quality is good. Maybe let's wait a few more seconds and we can get started. Meanwhile, you can message here, like someone can message if audio and video quality is good. If you couldn't hear me, like if there is no movement, I can change things. I just changed a few of my settings. I hope this works. Yep, I think I can see a few viewers. I hope it should work. Thanks, Tim. Volume very quiet. Let me see if I can change some settings. How about now? I think I raised a few settings. I hope this is clear. Okay. Thanks, Tim. Thanks, Peter. Yeah, I can see your message. Cool. So in today's session, we will be focused on learning Claude 3.5 Sonnet. This is very new model. It got released like last month, 3 weeks old. This is much more powerful than almost compared to all the models. This is the most powerful model. This is cheaper, faster, and more accurate. On X, I'm seeing a lot of people started loving like Claude models. They are getting amazing results compared to even ChatGPT, things like that. Also, these kind of models are available on both Amazon Bedrock and Google Cloud Vertex AI. For example, let's say your company, your workplace uses AWS, you can access these models in a much more secure way. Also, if your workplace uses Google Cloud, you can also access the models on Google Gardens, like Vertex AI has Model Garden. You can access it there. So Claude 3 Haiku and Claude 3 Opus and Claude 3 Sonnet, they are like their previous model. Recently, they launched this model, Claude 3.5 Sonnet, which is like their previous mid-level model. But if you see the performance, cost and performance, this is like very good spot compared to Claude 3 Sonnet and Claude 3 Opus. Soon, they are planning to release Claude 3.5 Haiku and Claude 3.5 Opus. So Claude 3.5 Opus should be somewhere here, like even more intelligent and effective than previous models. I've been using this model since from the day one of this model launch. I really like the model. It's amazing. It does a lot of work. Like, it's very helpful. I'm reading a few messages. Frank asking, can this be recorded and shared later? I'm on the train and hardly hear. Okay. He says he couldn't hear much. Yeah, this video will be available on the YouTube channel. You can watch it later too. I'll try to pre-process and increase volume if needed, but I hope you can hear me better right now. Okay. If you want me to increase volume, let me know. I can do that. Cool. So if you see the model's metrics, it's Claude 3.5 Sonnet is compared with Claude 3 Opus, GPT-4, Gemini 1.5 Pro, and Llama 400 billion parameter model. If you see the results, Claude 3.5 Sonnet is amazing in almost all the metrics other than one, which is not too bad. This is really nice. And the thing I really like about this model is this is much more faster than GPT-4 and Opus, and cheaper and more accurate. So That's the main reason I started liking this model. Also, recently this Claude company, like they are doing a lot of things every day. Like if you see their API and developer docs, they introduce a lot of cool things. Let me quickly log in. So we will see all their new features and we will try to understand how to use these models using Python. Also, just recently, like I launched a course on Udemy on mastering the Anthropic Claude 3.5 Python API. I just launched this course. I haven't started publishing it anywhere. It got released just today, this morning. I can share the link on our community, and also if you are interested in learning more about that, just message me. I can give you like free coupon. It should be 100% free. You can learn it. So I can share that on our channel. I'll message you the free coupon. Just message me on YouTube or just here, should be fine. Cool. So in today's video, what we are going to do is we will try to understand messages API a little bit more clear. Also, we will do a quick side project. This one, like using fridge. Like let's say you have a picture, this picture, and you want to know what are the things you can make with this picture. Like let's say you take a picture of your fridge and then you want to create a recipe. Sometimes the model will also recommend 1 or 2 products that you can buy so that you can aim for a lot of recipes. So this is helpful in generating recipe without wasting a lot of your food in the fridge. You just take a picture and you upload and you get all the results. Cool. I'll talk about the messages API and then we can move to this one. So messages API is like a foundation for interacting with their Anthropic models. To install Anthropic, you can use pip3 install. Maybe let me zoom a little bit. So in today's session, we will focus more on model Claude 3.5 Sonnet, and especially this is their first party API model name. 1P is first party, and they also have other parties like AWS and GCP. So we will focus more on first party, which is Anthropic, and we will focus on this model Claude 3.5 Sonnet 2024-06-20. So we will use this. So to install this model, you can use pip3 install Anthropic upgrade. Let me quickly run this. I think the recent version should be 0.31, I guess. Okay, I think my version is already upgraded. And you can also install pip3 install python.environment. The reason is you have to pass the API key somehow to the model. So instead of directly passing the API key like a string, what you can do is you can use .environment file, and in the .environment file you can add your API key here. Like to find an API key, what you can do is you can go to dashboard, console.anthropic.com dashboard, click get API keys, and here you can create API key and you can type something and then you will get some key. Cool. and you can copy the key and paste it here. So that's the first step. So after pasting the key, what you can do is you can run this one, import OS, and from .environment import load .environment file. So when you run this function, this will load all the things in .environment file into your terminal, so that into this Python environment, so that you can access the API key like this, os.get environment anthropic _ API key. So that API key will be stored here, and then you can pass the API key to anthropic API key, and you can pass the API key here. So once you pass the API key, now you can interact with the model. To interact with the model, you can use client.messages.create. So this is the main function, client.messages.create, and it needs three things minimum. One is model, what model name we are going to use, and max tokens, and temperature. So these three things are important. If you don't have these three things, and if you miss even one of these things, the model won't run. You will get error message. So model, max tokens, and messages. These three are important. Messages, max tokens, model. Three things. So optionally, you can set a few other parameters too. One parameter is temperature. Other parameter is system. We will learn each parameter in detail in today's session. So I'm not going to run all the code, but I can share the code. You can also run after the session. So I think you can focus more on understanding the building components, like how to get some answer, how to change the results, things like that. Cool. So if you run this one, here I'm asking top 10 places to visit in Sydney. And if you see my messages, it has two things, role and content. Role could be user or assistant. When model replies something, it could be assistant. When you ask something, that's user. So you have two things, user and assistant. Always it should be alternative. First it should be user, and second it should be assistant. Then the third one should be user. Things like that. Also max tokens. Most of the models, like 2 days ago, they support 4096. But very recently, like yesterday, they increased the max tokens to 8192 tokens. 8192. So 8192 is the max token. So let's not focus on this right now. I'll just use 1000 token. Even 1000 is good for these kind of use cases. Cool. So the most important thing here is you have to use client.messages.create, and it needs three things minimum. One is model, the second one is max tokens, the third one is messages. And in the messages, it has two things, role and content. Role could be user or assistant. You cannot have two user message consequently, like next. You cannot have that. It should be alternative between user and assistant, then user, then assistant, like that. Cool. Maybe if you want, I can run this. Maybe I can create a API key and then delete the key after the session. Copy, close, and paste it here. Okay. Now I'm going to run this. So now if I check my API key, I can see the real key. API key. Oh, it's not there. Restart. Glad I checked. Okay. Since I modified that .environment file, I'm restarting my system, like restarting the environment. After restarting, I can run this. Son and API key. Print first 10 characters, and you can see there is an API key there. Now I am creating client. Then once client is created, I can use client.messages.create, and here I can pass the model, max tokens, temperature and run this. Okay, now I can print. So to print, I'm using ipython.display, import display, and HTML markdown. So this is just a basic display. So as you can see, Claude family has 4 models. These 3 are older, and this is the most advanced and the recent one, most intelligent model. And if you can see, all the models are multilingual. You can pass any different languages and you can get a response in different languages. And all the models are vision capabilities. You can add images and text together to get some response. And this is the model name. And you can see messages API is the format. And it's very fast, which is good. Then context window is 200 tokens, which means you can input 200,000 tokens to the model, which means it could be like at least 500 pages book. So you can pass 500 pages of book to the model and get some response. Maybe let me quickly ask. How many pages book is roughly 200,000 token? Let's see. So approximately 550 to 600 pages long. So which is amazing. Like you can input 600 pages book to the model and you will get some response. So the response is, as you can see, this is like older one. They just changed the max output to 8192 tokens. They doubled the max output. So 8192 token is approximately 22 pages book. So you can pass 600 pages book as an input and you will get at least 22 pages of Word document like an output. So which is really great, which is really good for programming, like coding. You can generate lots of code with that. And you can see the cost. So this is like 1 million token. So to process 1 million token, this is $3. And to output 1 million token, $15. And you can compare the price. Then their knowledge cutoff is April 2024, which is the recent model. And all their old models knowledge cutoff is August 2023. So knowledge cutoff means that some date there is a cutoff. Until that date, they have the training data. So to train this model, they used all the data that's available on the web up to April 2024. Cool. So this is their old model, Claude 3 Haiku. To use different model, just change the model name and rest you can keep it simple and run this. So Haiku is super fast. So you can see we are getting the response in 3.6 seconds compared to previously. I think we got, it's not displaying. Let's see. Oh, this is their large model Opus, so that's why it's taking longer, 13.9 seconds. But if you see our previous one, Claude 3.5 Sonnet, which is relatively fast, like just 4 seconds, 4.3 seconds. Cool. So now let's focus on messages API parameters. So maybe let me quickly go through each in detail and then I will explain these things. So as you can see, we need 3 things as required parameters. They are model. You have to specify what model you have to pass. And messages is a list. And this array of messages object representing the conversation history. The conversation history should be user, assistant, like that. The first message is always user. Then when you add assistant and then you start some message, that's called pre-filling. We will see pre-filling in the JSON lesson. This one, messages API JSON. As you can see, role user, some content, then assistant, then some content, then user, then some content. So user, assistant, user. So if you use two user at the same time, you will get an error message. And this is called partially filled response, which means user is us. We are asking some question. What's the best way to see the Sydney Opera House? And then if you want the model to respond by starting this, to get the most out of your visit to Sydney Opera House, I recommend. Then from here, you will get the model's respond. So we are pre-filling something. This is called pre-filling. And we can also pass images to the model. We will see how to do that. Maybe let me quickly see if there is any questions. Cool. Okay, so now let's try to learn max tokens. Meanwhile, 1 second, I'll try to open one more thing. Okay, so I think this looks good. So let's start with max tokens. So currently max tokens could be up to 8192. So so here we are using like 1000 tokens. For 1000 tokens, this is like a maximum token. The model will cut off after generating 1000 tokens, but sometimes it won't. This is like a max cutoff, like it won't generate more than 1000, but it's not guaranteed to generate up to 1000. Sometimes it could answer in less tokens. In this question, we are asking just only top 10 places to visit in Sydney. It can finish that in few tokens, like 200 tokens. So let's run this. And to see the response, you can use message.usage. So let's print this one too. I'll show you how the message object looks like. Okay, maybe let me zoom a little bit. So this is how this looks like. So there is a library called rich. I'm going to use rich to print the output. From rich, import print. Yeah. So this is a library. You can install pip install rich. Then you can do this. So this will like show you things bit more clearly. So it will be helpful, especially working with message outputs. So as you can see the results, there are three things: message, text block, and usage. Three classes. And message class, it has like ID and content has text. Then the message, it has few other things too. Model, what model we used, and what is the role. The role is assistant because the model is responding, that's why it's assistant. And why it stopped because it reached the end turn, which means it completes the answer. And stop sequence, none. So we will see what stop sequence mean in the next one. Then this is a message type, and you can see usage. In the usage object, you can see two things: input tokens, output tokens. And message.usage, here you can see input tokens and output tokens. Yeah. So now what I'm doing is, in the previous one we set max tokens as 1000. Now I'm setting max tokens as 100 and see what happens. So if I set max tokens as 100, the model will stop when it's about to reach 100. So it will stop like 99. So you can see when it reaches like 99 tokens, it stopped. It stopped abruptly. It didn't continue. And now if I print message, you can see why it stopped. It stopped because it reached max tokens. Stop reason is max tokens. Previously, why it stopped is it reached the end turn, which means it completes the answer. Now it didn't complete the answer. It stopped abruptly because we set max tokens as 100, it reached 99 tokens and stopped. And you can see the stop reason. Cool. So now we are going to see what is stop sequences. So use stop sequences to define custom text that stops the model. So you can, this is like a list. In that list, you can add any number of string. As soon as the model sees this token, it will stop. So normally, as you know, the model stops at end turn, but we can force the model to stop by setting the max tokens or setting some stop sequences, things like that. So here, let's run this. So here it prints up to 0.4. Then after completing the 0.4, it sees 0.5, and the 0.5 is in our stop sequences. As soon as it sees the fifth point, it stops. And you can check the stop reason, print message. Let's run this. And you can see why it stopped is stop sequence. This is the reason for stopping. And what is the stop sequence? The stop sequence is 5. So this is a way to control the prompt like a response. So usually the stop reason is end turn. So when it finishes the answer, the stop reason could be like end turn, and the stop sequence is none. So that's why it's not displaying anything. But when you forcefully stop it, you can see the stop sequence is something that we mentioned in the list, and stop reason is stop sequence. I hope this is clear. So now let's move to temperature. Before that, let me quickly check. Looks good. Cool. So temperature is a way to control the model's output. So amount of randomness injected into the response. So if you need always a deterministic answer, you can set temperature as 0. If you set temperature as high number, like close to 1, the output will be a little bit more creative, like it chooses a little bit more word choices. So here what I'm doing is, I'm doing some analysis, but I'm not going to run this, but I will show you the results because it will take a few minutes, 2 to 5 minutes to run this, because I'm running for these temperature 0, temperature 0.7 and temperature 1. I'm running the same question 50 times, and I'm keeping the response in the outputs dictionary. You can see it here. So if you run this and then display everything, before that, my question is top 1 famous cuisine in India. Just list the name, example, ice cream, things like that. So after running this like 50 times, for temperature 0, even after running this like 50 times, I'm getting biryani. Because when you set temperature as 0, the output is always deterministic. It will choose the best top probability value. When you choose temperature as 0.7, it will be a little bit more creative. But when you choose temperature close to 1, it will be more creative and chooses a little bit more different results. Here you can see biryani full stop, and there is no full stop, tandoori chicken, curry, things like that. So that's temperature. So my suggestion is if you need a deterministic answer, choose temperature as 0. If you want your output a little bit more creative, choose high temperature like 0.9 or 1. Cool. So now let's move to top P. So this top P parameter is also called nucleus sampling. So nucleus sampling involves selecting tokens based on their cumulative probability. So what does that mean? So let's say, actually this large language model, all generative AI based models are like predicting next tokens. So each token is like a word. Let's assume these are different tokens available. Token A, and it has some probability 0.5. Token B's probability is 0.3. Token C probability is 0.1, and D is 0.05. And E is also 0.05. And let's assume we are selecting top P as 0.8. So what happens is, initially for the first word, the probability is 0.5. Then we have to do cumulative sum. So first token and second token, the probability is 0.8. Since we set top P as 0.8, the model will consider only the first two tokens and it will randomly choose one of those tokens. It will skip the remaining tokens like C, D and E. I hope this is clear. So that's called top P, which is also called nucleus sampling. So here, name one famous indentation, the same question, and we are running this experiment 50 times on each different value, 0.1, 0.5 and 1 cumulative probability. And here you can see when top P is 0.1, it chooses the highest probability these things. When it's like top P is 1, it chooses the second best one. So actually, as you can see, temperature is bit more helpful when controlling the outputs. They recommend, like Anthropic and even OpenAI, they recommend these things for advanced use cases. Typically, adjusting temperature is sufficient. And yeah, also they recommend adjust temperature or top P, not both. So for your use cases, just play with it, change temperature, high temperature and see how the results look like, low temperature and see how the results look like, things like that. So now we are going to see top K. So top K means how many tokens you are going to consider. Let's say in our large language model, you are considering like 10,000 words. So which could be like approximately 15 to 18,000 tokens. But we don't have to consider all the tokens. We can consider only the top 10 highest probability tokens or top 5 highest probability tokens. So here what we are doing is, we are setting the experiment, the similar experiment. I'm considering the first token, I'm considering the top 20 token, and I'm considering top 100 token. And then I'm running the experiment. And you can see when top K is 20, I'm getting a little bit more different results. When top K is 100, a little bit more different results. But when top K is 1, always biryani. So you can see, if you want your output to be very deterministic, set top K as 1. If you want your output to be a little bit more creative, choose high top K. So my recommendation is, don't use all these things together. Just play with temperature and see how your results look like. Then you can change one by one and control the results too. I hope this is a bit clear and helpful. Cool. Now what I'm going to do is, I'm going to show you this project. Since what are the things we have learned so far, that knowledge is enough to do this project. But yeah, slight changes. We are adding image. I will tell you how to do that. But I have prepared a dedicated lesson for images. As you can see, the first lesson is all about messages API. Then in the second lesson, we will cover some of the best practices and ways to do streaming, which means you don't have to wait for your results. As soon as you run the code, you will start getting the results. Then in the third one, we will cover all things about images. So we will also do a few mini projects in this lesson. So we can do that in 2 weeks. Then in the fourth one, this is like how to use message. Like, let's say you have some unstructured data and you want to convert those unstructured to structured. You can use JSON mode. To do JSON mode, you have to set assistant, and then you can start some pre-filling, like the things we learned in the initial lesson. So this is how you do some pre-filling. You say assistant, hey assistant, start with this one. Here is the JSON requested, and you start with this bracket. Then the model thinks, okay, you are requesting JSON and you are starting with the JSON like this notation. Then the model will respond continuing from there. So you can see it here. So this is how you convert unstructured to structured. And there are a few other ways to do that, but this is one quick way. And then in the fifth lesson, we will learn about tools, how to add external information to the model so that the model will decide what external data it has to use to answer your question, and it determine everything dynamically. You don't have to control. You just pass all the tools to the model, and model will determine when to use what. Then finally we will do some project. So I'm going to show you this one, fridge. So this is very simple. This is very similar to what we have covered so far. I'm loading all the import statements. Then I'm loading my key. Then client, setting the client. So one thing we haven't seen today is how to use images. To use images, I'm going to teach you a little bit high level now, and then in the future lessons we will go in depth. So to do images, what you can do is, this is an image, and you can load this image as a base 64 format, because these models needs only string. So you have base 64 representation is a string representation. So to do that, we are using this library, base 64, and here you can pass the file name, and then once you loaded everything, you decode it, and it will be like base 64 format, which is a string format. Then here def get dietary preference, we are asking the user's preference. Here I'm setting as gluten free. Then this is the prompt. I'll tell you how I generate the prompt. This looks a lot, I didn't type this. So this is the one new thing they introduced very recently. If you go to workbench, I think dashboard, this one, generate a prompt. So here you can just type your very vague idea, like write me an email, something like that, draft an email responding to customer complaint email and offer a resolution. So this is like a vague idea, and then you can ask it to generate a prompt. Now it uses Claude 3.5 model, and then generate a detailed prompt. So based on my experience so far, I'm getting very good results when I do like a detailed prompt rather than a small prompt. As you can see, it has like XML tags, and this is very proper way of doing things, and it thinks everything clearly, and it's very detailed. So instead of writing like a small prompt, if you do in this way, you might get even better results. So that's how I generate this initial prompt. Here I am passing only the dietary preferences, and then the prompt is saying, here I'm asking a few things like list identified ingredients with estimated quantities and expiry dates, and provide 3 creative recipe ideas using near expiry ingredients with brief instructions. Then offer 2 to 3 quick storage tips for maximizing ingredient lifespan. Then leftover ideas, suggest 2 to 3 creative ways to use leftovers or food scraps. Then smart shopping, recommend 3 to 5 ingredients to buy that complement existing items. Then some scores, things like that. Then as you can, this is maybe let me show you from beginning. So here you can see messages. We have to pass 3 things: model, max tokens, messages. The messages could be user, as you can see, it's a role user, and in the content I'm typing the image content and text content. So there are 2 things. So the first one, the image content, to do that you have to set the type as image. Then when you use image, the syntax is you have to use source, and you can say base 64 because this is a base 64 format, and the original image is JPEG type, JPG, so JPEG, and here you can pass your base 64 image string. This is a string data. Then in the second one you can pass your initial message. So the initial message is this one, all your prompt along with your user preferences. Then then I'm checking the model will run. After the model runs, you'll get the output response.content 0.text, then I'm displaying the results. So here you can see it analyzed everything. And also, since it has like tags, we ask it to provide a lot of tags. We can extract these tags and then create some Streamlit app. So here you can see, maybe I'll create this as a blog post and then I can share this with you. For right now, this is very simple idea that can be achievable just by knowing how to do messages API. Cool. Maybe I think I'm pretty much covered what I thought of doing today. Messages API. I hope this is helpful. See you all next time. In the next time, we'll focus more on a project end-to-end along with some Streamlit app. I hope this is helpful. And last time, like, if you're interested in this course, just message me. I can give you a free token. Yep. I'll share the code in our Slack channel. Yep. Thanks everyone. See you.